Okay, let's more dungeon meshy. I need this anime in my life. I need to see. I need to see if the quality level stays where it's at. I really hope it does because that episode 1 was good. Hi. This is a reaction video to a whole episode of anime. Obviously, I cannot put a whole episode of anime on YouTube, otherwise I will be assassinated in my sleep. And so what you have instead in the top left corner is a timestamp that tells you how far into the episode I am. Now, this includes like all of the opening titles and stuff like the Netflix logo and shit like that. So if you want to watch along and hear my commentary on the episode, then I will give you a countdown that goes 3, 2, 1, and then go on the 4th beat there to start the episode. And every once in a while, when I have something to say, something to ramble about, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, pause. And then we're both going to pause at the same time. And I'm going to ramble about whichever thing it is that's up on my screen that I am curious about. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and we're going to restart. And that's how this thing is going to go back and forth. Like, believe you me, I would love to just simply have the anime on screen, and then I could just talk to you about it while we're doing the... But, you know, copyright being what it is, that simply isn't an option. So, 3, 2, 1, play. I love that mushroom. And obviously we're watching the OP every time. Otherwise, how would I sync up? Very interesting, like, visually that they show the characters as being, like, so much bigger than their environments. Like, that one's interesting to me. I wonder if it means anything. Like, I'd have to see the whole anime to figure out, like, if that means something, but I like that as an idea. And again, as I've talked about with the character designs already, like, Delicious in Dungeon has a very deliberately simple, workman-like aesthetic. Like, no one's wearing fucking MMO armor in this series. They wear stuff that looks like clothes, right? They wear armor that looks like armor. And there are flourishes here and there, but for the most part, it's like, no, this is stuff that someone would moderately reasonably wear in a fantasy world, right? Rather than legendary dark armor of super fire or whatever, right? It's just they have gear that is gear, right? Not... And I like that. Oh, hey, backstory. And of course it's food. Oh no, she has dead mom hair. Ah. I like the attention to detail with her hair. Young adventurers nowadays. Three, two, one, pause. So, Senshi's animation, right? He has, like, when Senshi has dialogue animation, because his mouth is not at all visible, and because he's wearing the helmet, like, down underneath his nose and stuff like that, the animation choice that they've made is to not have any motion at all for the most part when he speaks, right? Which is a thing, like in a lot of anime, they would probably have the animation choice of when the characters speak, especially when it's, like, as cartoony as Dungeon Meshi is, and as he is as a character. They would probably make the choice to have either the beard move, like the beard sort of moves around in rough timing with his lip flaps, or like the helmet sort of wiggles a little bit as the character speaks. Not with Senshi. They make the decision like that for the most part. When he speaks, he is immobile, unless he's doing like a cartoony lecture thing, right? Like, and there they give him that little 2-frame cycle where he sort of wiggles, like about as animated as my avatar on screen right now, but without the bouncing. And that's like, those are interesting choices. Like that, there is like clearly there is a directorial decision about like when to give him animated speech, right? And how to animate him when he's talking. And this is one of the things, like so much anime by time, by volume, right, is just reverse shot of two characters talking with as little animation as possible in the face to convey that they're talking, sometimes just like a mouth literally just moving on a static face kind of thing. Because, you know, anime is always, and all animation for that matter, is always a matter of like balancing budgets with your ambitions and sort of trying, okay, these scenes, we can knock them out with like a minimum of effort, and then we can do Sakuga for the other ones. And like, for me, that's always interesting to look at when I'm watching an anime. Is like, okay, what kinds of effort, like what kinds of customization, what kind of uniqueness do they add to the dialogue, to how characters speak? Because that's such a place of where, like, traditionally, that's a place where you really do a lot of cost cutting, right? You cut a lot of corners there. So that's interesting for me with Senshi. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, unpause. He's such a party dad. He feels about monsters the way I feel about character design. Two, one, okay. Oh, holding an egg. Poor Marcel. Ooh, some good animation on that basilisk. Oh, that's clean. Oh, that's good Sakuga. Like, I know it's not 3, 2, 1, pause, right? I know it's not Sakuga in the sense of like characters are flipping all over the place and the camera is doing all kinds of shit. But like, if you pay attention to the way that these scenes are set up, like the amount of like animation frames, just sheer number of animation frames that are used, to communicate each motion and each moment and like pacing that shit out. Ooh, 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 that's good. Ooh, that's good. I'm gonna want to rewatch that. That's really good. Because that's just clean. Like also about like the fucking basilisk animation, like when it's chasing Marcia. Like there was some attention being paid to like making its head do the chicken thing, bobbing back and forth, kind of like, and like the way the chickens will like lower their heads and turn their heads to to look at something. Like there was some attention paid to the physicality of this creature. Oh, that's what I like. That's what I like to see. Like really desperately hoping that that quality keeps up, so we get to see the monsters like all have interesting physicalities. That would be lovely. This ooh, good. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, unpause. That's a pretty good recipe for chicken too. Apples are great to stuff in chicken. Ah, generic the adventurer. Again, pay attention to how he's animated when he speaks. Right? When he's really animated, when he's really like excited, that's when they give him more. Oh, poor Marcel. Oh. Oh, jeez. How do you train a dog to do that? Cruel. Me too. Poor Marcille. Oh, the poor girl. I just want to eat everything from this fucking show. Oh, that's a trap room. That's a trap room if ever I saw a trap room in my life. I have played video games. I'm sorry, you run into an obsessive. The dramatic lighting there. Mm. Fucking chefs, man. Fucking cooks. Line cook ass motherfucker. Again, if you just replace all of this with like real world ingredients, it's pretty damn good. Cooking is fun, Chilchuck. He's got him. He's got him. Senshi's so cute. The theme of the episode. Okay, 3, 2, 1, pause. Jeez, I just didn't pause and talk a lot during this one, did I? Damn, that was just a... Oh, God, this show is good. Holy fuck, this show is good. Okay, so... Structurally, this is the party comes together and learns to cooperate episode, right? Like, in terms of when you think about how a story is structured, right? Like, at some point after the party has met, they need to have some kind of shaking together where they each learn how to like navigate around one another's personalities. They rub up against each other a little bit. They find some kind of equilibrium. They come together to form a more cohesive whole, and then, right, like then the story can start throwing challenges at them, where each of them can then like exercise their particular powers and like their particular abilities and skills in collaboration in to solve the problem, and that'll be your moment of overcoming. That'll be like the catharsis, right, for this. Like this is all set up. But it's just such charming setup, because it's like Senshi's like he does it really well. Like the writer does it really well, walking Senshi at that line where he's like clearly annoying, right? Like Senshi's clearly annoying. I would be annoyed by him, but also that like he's clearly well intentioned. Like there's not a cruel bone in his body. He's just a guy who's super into cooking and food, and like sort of sees everything in the world through that particular lens. and which is the thing that the story is tying back thematically to the idea of food itself, right? Food itself is this coming together of ingredients to form a greater whole than any one of these things could be without it. Like, it's like bread and meat alone are not enough. They have to come together in order to, like, that's just, like, in terms of just well-structured storytelling, that's just really competent. Like, that's just, yeah, that's a really strongly structured episode that really flows. Which is good because, like, in terms of how it's put together, it's like it's adapting chapters from a manga, right? Like, and it has to adapt multiple of them into like one thing in order to, and then try and find some kind of through line, some kind of cohesive thing to latch onto to give each episode like a sense of its own structure, and it's doing that really, really well. Because like this was like a series of little vignettes, right? Like that sort of structured around, like as the episode titles, like structured around a particular meal each time, and that's really good. That's very strong. I constantly get a 90s vibe from this anime. Like, I talked about it in the first episode a little bit about how the art style, like, with this sort of scratchy line work, and greater than average, like, I've been looking at the backgrounds also throughout the episode, and, like, it's like a lot of them are digital modern anime backgrounds, as you would expect, but then there are also times like when they do put like that extra effort into like handcrafting an environment in some very well chosen places that, yeah, it's like it's really strong. But I'm getting that 90s vibe from it, not just in terms of like some parts of what the art style is emulating, but also in terms of what the story is about. And like 90s is like, it's not a decade specific thing, that's just like a vibe. But again, I can't help but contrast this a lot with most of the fantasy anime that we get nowadays, which is isekai and light novels, right? Which have a tendency to be like video game novelizations, essentially, like novelizations of video games that don't exist. They have a tendency to play very hard on power fantasy tropes, especially, right? And that's not, like, I'm not sitting here saying that that's inherently a bad thing or anything. There's some isekai anime that I very much enjoy, like Overlord is very fun, I think. But it is a thing of, like, I have missed an anime that just builds a fantasy world and lets the characters live in it. Right? Like, they get by in this fantasy world by being competent at living in the fantasy world, and not because, oh, I have the level 500 super skill that everyone thought was worthless, but it turned out to be the most powerful skill of all, and so now I can, like, say a magic word and then boom, all the monsters explode. Rather, this is like, we get by in this fantasy world because we know how to live in it, right? And I have missed that so much because, like, so much, like, the entire isekai genre is essentially in opposition to this concept. Well, there is one, Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill actually does a pretty decent, it's also structured around food, weirdly enough, actually does a pretty decent job of, like, trying to build, like, a world where the protagonist doesn't just, like, magic solve every problem with his cheat ability, but he still does that, but it feels more, a little bit more like it's a place where people live rather than a video game space where the protagonist is doing video game protagonist shit, right? And so what I'm getting at with the fucking 90s vibe is, like, I'm thinking about stuff like Record of Lodoss War. I'm thinking about, I mean, outing myself a little bit here, Dragon Pink. In terms of aesthetics, there's a certain level of, like, the aesthetic of these anime that, like, harken back to like a 90s sensibility of what a fantasy world is like, rather than a 2020s sensibility of what a fantasy, or a 2010s sensibility of what a fantasy world is like. And to me, that feels really refreshing because I just haven't seen a lot of anime commit to this style of fantasy world building in a while. Very good. Anyway, let's watch the ending. 3, 2, 1, unpause. Okay, so we're doing like a storybook thing. Ooh, some nicely... Are those actual watercolors? Probably digital watercolors, but... Oh, those are lovely. Look at those guys in the background. Good character designs on them. This is another thing that has a little bit of that retro vibe. Like the ways that these illustrate. Oh my god, I love the character designs on those mermaids. Holy shit, they're so good. That's cute. Yeah, Marcial's expression there, that's good. And again, look at the clothes. Look how everyone's just wearing stuff that looks like clothes, right? Not costumes, clothes. That's an interesting scene. There's Senshi. Some of these just look great as postcards. This series has such a good sensibility for character design. It really does. Oh, that was good. That was really good. Oh, this is gonna be my anime of the season, isn't it? I think it would need some strong fucking competition to not be the anime of the season for me. It really would. I don't think anything else is gonna come. Again, assuming that this level of quality stays throughout the season. Because it's just, what gets me is the baseline level of competence everywhere. Just the baseline level of competence. Like it's not even that, like, there's that much, like, mind-blowing, like, whoa! Like, it's not like One Punch Man, which was, like, constantly, punching above its weight. Like, constantly blowing shit out of the water. It's just, this is just really good, solid, competent animation work, and competent direction, and competent art design, and competent character design. Like, it's just baseline good in a way that's just, that steadiness also, like I've talked about this before, that so much of seasonal anime, by necessity, this is not something I'm really criticizing the studios for, because they kind of have to do it this way in the circumstances that they're in, where it's like, first episode, pump a bunch of budget into that one to make it look good. Maybe second, third episode as well, just to sort of keep people get hooked. And then as the season goes on, kind of let the quality drop down, be kind of shitty. Because people are hooked on the characters, they want to see what happens. And then in the season finale, we do a blowout thing where, like, oh, here's a big Sakuga moment thing to sort of pump things up and get people hype and hopefully entice them to tune into the next thing. I'm hoping that Delicious and Dungeon will just be like, no, baseline, solid level of quality across the whole thing. And, like, maybe we don't have that end of season huge blowout like Sakuga Fest, but, like, just good, solid throughout the whole thing, so every episode is engaging and fun, and half the season doesn't end up feeling like filler, like a lot of anime do, for me, nowadays. Anyway, that was episode 2 of Delicious and I'm gonna keep doing this. I don't care if no one watches this. I don't care. Like, half of the reason why I decided to do these reaction things anyways, because my ADHD is really fucking bad, and it's unmedicated at the moment, which is something I'm working on, but it means it's really fucking hard for me to sit down and just watch an anime. Or anything. Do anything. Like, I can't even fucking play video games in a stretch without getting distracted and, like, needing to do a million other things. So recording myself like this, doing this reaction thing, like I'm talking to someone about this, because, like, that'll happen when I watch anime. Is I'm gonna sit there, I'm gonna be watching, oh fuck that thing, and then I want to tweet about it, or I'm gonna write down notes because, like, oh, you can do a video about this. Like, a million things distract me, but now, because I can just, like, kind of pause and ramble like an idiot, that helps. That helps me focus. Like, that this is the thing. Oh, this is being recorded. This is for a project. This is technically for work. It's not really for work. That helps. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and you can watch it if you want, I guess. It's not really for your sake. But yeah, like, much like I said in the last one, I do want to make this something that's, like, valuable for people, fun, interesting, enjoyable. So if you have any thoughts about, like, if there's something you want me to focus on about, like, is there something you want me to pay attention to or talk about in these anime that, like, you're interested in, I can try and look at that more closely in an episode, or like, do a little pause for that. Absolutely, I can do that for you. I can't promise, like, if you ask a question that I don't know how to properly answer, then probably I won't, but you can always try and see what happens. See what happens. See what happens. Try it out. I'm gonna end this video now. Thanks for watching.